Hey everybody, Pastor Matt here. I wanted to show you something real quick before I get into the study this morning. Check it out. So I was able to get one of these at the Colorado Baptist Convention, and all I had to do was to send a note of encouragement to a church planter somewhere here in the United States, and I happened to be one where it was, I think his name is Todd Damien, who is a church planter in Chicago. And so as a result, I was able to procure me one of these Hoosier One shirts. Very excited about that. But I want to talk to you this morning because as you saw and as you've seen on our Messenger Facebook thing, that there's been a lot of things that have been going on with a lot of our folks that have been really making the spiritual warfare believers in us. We believe that there's now spiritual warfare if we didn't believe it before, and we've been hit with it quite a bit on a number of levels. And I sent Danica a passage that I asked her to read, and I'm going to ask you to read it as well. And I do apologize. I'm running on very little sleep this morning, so if you'll bear with me, I'd appreciate it. But it's Ephesians 6, 10 to 20. And it's talking about the armor of God and how we're to pray at all times and how we're to... It really starts off with making sure that we know the schemes of the devil. Thomas Brooks, who was a Puritan writer back in the 1600s, he wrote something that I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to look over here to the screen and share it with you. It says that Christ, the Scripture, your own hearts, and Satan's devices are the four prime things that should be first and most studied and searched. If any cast of the study of these, they cannot be safe here or happy hereafter. It is my work as a Christian, but much more as I am a watchman, to do my best to discover the fullness of Christ, the emptiness of the creature, and the snares of the great deceiver. I want to read that first sentence again. Christ, the Scripture, your own hearts, and Satan's devices are the four prime things that should be studied first. It should be first and most studied and searched. Told you I couldn't read. Told you I was having a hard time this morning, but. Many of you are struggling right now. Many of you are going through this and you're preparing for this, and you may be wondering if these may be signs that maybe I shouldn't go and such. But I would say that part of going through this 40-day New Testament challenge is a way for you to be able to know Christ, His Word, but also as a result now, you're going to know your own hearts better. You're going to see whether the convictions of your own heart match the convictions of Scripture. And if they don't, then it's a way for us to pursue Christ and His Word through prayer, through the help of other people, to be able to pursue and to make sure that you're aligned. Your convictions are aligned with His convictions. And then Satan's devices. All through Scripture, we see how Satan is... All through Scripture, we see how Satan is working. We saw it right at the beginning in Genesis 3, where there's a questioning of His Word and an enticement to the delights of our eyes and our desires. And it's just snowballed from there. And this is what Satan is doing right now, is that if he can't have control over you, then he will make sure that you don't pursue Christ's control over you. When we understand that, I think things end up coming along better, and I'm actually pulling along better for us in our relationship with the Lord. But I was actually pulled up an old sermon that I preached from July 21st, 2013. And there's a highlight here, and I love how God moves and works, is that Satan is scheming to undermine the work of God in the world. He is scheming to undermine the workers of His work. If he can undermine the workers of God's work, then he can undermine the God who sent them to work. So we begin to recognize that this is not simply about us being protected, but it's about God's name and reputation being protected. Now, God gave me that 6 years ago. I don't remember writing that. So I'm able to come back and not say, wow, how insightful. I'm able to come back and say, God, thank you for giving that to me. He is scheming to undermine the work of God in the world. He's scheming to undermine the workers of His work. And if he can undermine the workers of God's work, then he can undermine the God who sent them to work. So that's what we've got to be really careful of and understand Satan's schemes so that we can be better prepared for the work. Even in the midst of these trials, God is teaching us something that he's going to be able to help us pass on to somebody else, whether in Trinidad or somewhere later on. So study what's going on. Understand Christ, the Scripture, your own heart, and how Satan is working. Once we begin to gather these things, I believe God is going to take us around a corner that we didn't see coming otherwise. Thankful for all of you. You hang in there. You stay strong in the Lord. Put on the armor of God, which we'll talk about possibly tomorrow or Tuesday. And then we'll be able to move forward. But I hope I can see you all at the meeting on Sunday. Take care.